Welcome to this meeting, this database team weekly meeting. Let's see, agenda, there's a couple non-verbalized topics in there. It's into the milestone, figured we'd run through the board real quick, see what needs to be moved, what will close on. Let's see, so first one does not have an assignment on it. Is that not going to happen in the next couple days?
I think you're in the wrong column.
You are reviewing the next milestone.
I am in the wrong column, sorry.
You live in the future.
I am living in the future. It's early here. I haven't had all my coffee yet. All right. Let's see. So Andreas is not here. Has anybody been working with him on this one?
I've been using it some the last couple of days. What is required for this, or the kind of the checklist in that issue, is not completed though now. It's still very manual setup.
Yeah, this should be a top. This is one of our top priorities for next milestone.
I think Andreas is back on Thursday. Any confidence that this would be finished this week?
No way.
No, okay. All right, we'll just move it over then. Hey, Fabian. We're running through the board to see what's going to complete and what we need to move over. Let's see, Giannis, you're up.
Yeah, I left it there on purpose so that I can say that I need more time on this one, and I do not want to move it. It's the only one remaining deliverable on my side. This is a big one, so I need more time.
Okay. Is it going to get finished this week, or do we need to move it over?
Yeah, that's my plan. I have to focus on this one and try and finish it. But most probably we'll have to move it. So just the one for everyone.
Okay. Has anybody been working with Andreas on this one?
This is an open discussion. I think that Andreas has not done anything there, so most probably it won't be done this week.
Okay. I'll catch up with him this week.
Yeah, this is needed in order for us. This is not top priority for finishing rebuilding indexes, but it's an important heuristic in order not to choose indexes in randomly. So currently, when we run the reindexing processes, when we are going to redeploy that, we just pick an index randomly. So what we want to do there is to have a heuristic to pick the most used indexes or something like that.
Yep. All right, we'll leave it for now. I'll catch up with him later this week. Pat, you're up.
Yeah, that one should still go in this week, pending some show-stopping issue that we haven't foreseen, but getting close to being done with the testing here. So
nice. All right, next one.
Yeah, that one I doubt will go in this week.
Okay. Do you want to? Should we move it over, or do you want to see how it goes for the rest of this week?
Yeah, I can see, I guess. The first part's, there's two MRs. The first one's in review. The second one is not quite finished yet. So it seems unlikely, but I can move it depending on how it goes.
Okay. Sounds good. And actually, you have the next one too. Validate schema.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, it's not done, obviously. So yeah, I think
that's a huge one. We should. I think that we should split it to more issues. More
right.
actions.
I already. Sorry. Yeah, I created a few. There's like 3 or 4 that I created. I think Andreas created one too for the indexes. So maybe we can decide if any of the other, we can talk about it. Maybe figure out if there's more issues we need to create, or we think that covers pretty well what needs to be done at this point.
All right, sounds like. Sorry, I wasn't trying to drag that around to glitch on the board. If you copy the link, it'll start moving it. So maybe this one needs to be promoted to an epic so we can have the sub issues beneath it. No, actually, we already have an epic for this one.
There's an epic already. So I think maybe this top level one, we can just move the relevant information to the epic and then just close this one, and we'll have the sub issues to work off of.
Okay.
Yeah, and this was more of it has all the research also about tools that we can use and methodologies, so we can keep it as a research one.
Yeah. Okay. If nobody else wants to do it, I can restructure this one so it reflects research, and then we can break down smaller issues into the epic.
I can do it. I can do it so that
Okay.
because maybe we want to also clean the parent epic. So
All right. And oh, that one got drug around. Sorry, that looked familiar. These don't have anybody assigned to them. So just move them all in bulk, all the unassigned ones. See Giannis nodding. Pat, you okay with that too?
should we move the two deliverables? I think that should be for sure in 13.7.
Yeah, I don't think any of these are being worked on right now.
No. I'm not sure about the rest because sometimes we add for sure the updates that it's when reindexing a functional index. But I'm not sure if Andreas will get to that when he gets back. So let's leave it there.
Yeah. Well, he's not back till Thursday. I'm sure he's gonna be catching up on a lot of emails and stuff. So I think from probably from this one down, we'll just move them all over. So I'll take care of that after the meeting. Okay, and back to the agenda. Fabian, you have a question there? Fabian, yep.
Oh, is this,
Asking about.
oh, sorry,
yeah,
I thought you were saying Yannis, you were saying my name. No, this is just for transparency. So Yannis and I meet twice a week now, on Tuesday mornings our time and Thursday mornings our time. And today in the afternoon is the performance indicator review for all groups, includes database as well. And so one question that came up from Scott, the Senior Vice President of Product Management, is do we actually know how much of a pain point slow database performance is for end users? And so Yannis and I spoke a little bit about this in the morning, and maybe this is an opportunity for us to identify specific pages on the front end where we know certain database queries are slow, and then actually interview some regular developers who use GitLab to understand how much of a pain point slow performance on some of those parts really are. Because I think, I don't know if we have a lot of data on this, but that would really, I think, also drive home the importance of the work of this team and tie it back to specific complaints that users actually have. And that I think would be a really interesting project, but it also would allow us to, if we present that data in a form to other groups and say, look, we are here to help, but these things, they really bother people, right? And these are the things that bother them, right? That's a stronger position to convince people to do something about it. And so we're thinking about maybe gathering some data in that area. I just wanted to surface it to the team and ask what folks think.
I think it's interesting. I would be curious how many end users would draw a line from functionality to database, right? They'll probably just say, this part of the application is slow. And I wonder how many of our users are informed enough to know that the slowness is caused by the database, right?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I'm not saying we are going to ask people what part of the database is slow, But maybe if we know that certain parts of the page can be directly linked to slow database performance, and we just give people some exercises, for example, say like, can you perform those tasks? And what are the things that bother you? Maybe they end up pointing out, I think with Yannis, I use this example, it's like if I actually apply suggestions to MRs, it always creates problems for me because things don't get applied as fast, right? And so if we can indirectly kind of say, people don't understand that that has to do with slow performance on the queries, but they get really upset because their interface locks up or they lag, right? And this is frustrating. And we know that this is the cause, right? Then we have strong leverage to actually work on that or encourage people to work on that. I think that would be quite interesting.
What's the approach you're going to take to figure out where to ask those specific questions about like how do we coach them into the questions and answers we want to get, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's the challenge for Yannis and me, right? It's like to come up with an interesting interview strategy to tease those things out. So I think what we can give people some tasks, right? And where we know they will encounter some of these slow parts, for example, when we're not going to tell them specifically what to look out for, but maybe ask them more about performance in general, right? Or some of those things. There are some strategies for investigating that. I think the first thing to know for me is what parts of, for example, the interface are actually considered slow because of database, right? And how do we know that, right? And are they in parts where people have sort of high surface area, right? And I don't know if we have data on that. And
that ties back to work that we were discussing with Andreas also about recognizing slow queries and tying, so we can start an effort to recognize all and rank slow queries and tie them back to controllers. So one approach, super technical approach, is can we have a process that we track all queries that run in the database, let's say pgstats snapshotting or something like that, tie that back to specific actions, like for example, specific services or specific controllers, and then use that information to run queries and identify bottlenecks. And then, so for example, the end result of that process will be that we have a ranked list that we know, for example, that there are those three, the top, the most slow page with regards to queries is the merge request page, let's say. And we will have, we will know that going bottoms up, knowing that there are those three queries that are on average that slow, and we know and we can tie them because with Marginalia, we track for every query where it comes from. And then go back and say, okay, so we know that this query is slow, but by itself, it does not say anything to us. But knowing that this query or these sets of queries goes back, slowing down that specific view, a page, means that then we can run the tests that the interviews that Fabian says, and we can also we also know who to reach afterwards, because each page more or less has an owner.
Yeah. And you kind of answered my question about marginalia, but I guess the follow-up question is marginalia a manual process? Like do you have to manually fill out data for it to be populated by marginalia? And I'm not even sure if I'm asking that question correctly, or is it fairly automated in that it knows which controller is making that call?
So all the queries that we have, so if we start checking pgstat, what's the name of the table, Patrick?
Stat statement.
pgstat statements. You can see the query, and you can see also the metadata that are entered, where we have the information there about controllers and some additional stuff. So we can work directly using the database if we want.
Okay. So let me ask it differently. Do developers need to manually add information into, okay, so it automatically gets picked up somewhere. Okay.
And that's important. So we are not blocked by any change from other teams. If I have this right, we have also a stub issue that I can create it so that if we agree that this is important, we can move forward with building a quick MVC with Andreas that will give us the top 3, top 5, top 10 pages that have issues, and then use that on what Fabian says.
Yeah. Because I think this is my broader thinking behind it is if we can identify, both quantitatively, actually looking at these things, some of those pages, and then we have on top of it, we have some user data as to that people are actually bothered on top of it, then we can use that to prioritize work, and we can also put this maybe into some interesting tracking metrics for Sisense and say, okay, this is these are the slowest performing pages over time. This is the impact on users, right? And this these are the specific steps we take to improve. I think that can show a lot of impact on actual folks. And I think that would be quite fun or quite interesting.
For sure, yeah. Okay. So what's next step on that? Just putting together an epic to kind of describe the initiative, or yeah, okay.
Yeah, we just talked about it this morning. I think this is, as in, I'm just reading stuff, right, and talking about it with Yannis, right? I think the next up here would maybe to write up that epic and say these are the next steps. This is what we can do, because the question is also how easy is this, right, and how much time would it take? We would need to evaluate it. But I think it would be interesting, because I think that that would be really positive for the database team. As this is why these queries are actually really impactful. We know, I think, from some research that perceived slowness is a huge detractor for user interfaces, right? If things lag, people get really upset.
Yeah, they do.
I have a good data point in myself on that, so.
Yeah.
We don't know what about others. So I'm really frustrated with the merge request page and the assigned issues page and searching for those. But maybe others have other pain points. So Craig is asking about the Postgres Checkup report. So what I touched very briefly, the technical part of that is, can we do what the Postgres Checkup report does and provides us with 15 top queries, but takes snapshots every 30 seconds or 1 minute so that we can have history and we can use that history. One thing about pgstat statements is that it's an aggregate statistics table, so it goes up. So if you check pgstat stat statements, you don't know, it's okay, you will see the most expensive query, but it may be the most expensive query because it was very expensive between 2016 and 2018. So what we have to do is, and also the Postgres Checkup report is great, but takes a snapshot every Sunday and every Monday morning, if I remember correctly. If we can, so the idea here from a technical perspective is, can we quickly have this implementation inside GitLab's database, have a cron job, a background job running, maybe not every 30 seconds, maybe every minute or 5 minutes. We can start and we can lower that delay and take snapshots so that we know and we start tracking all those queries, and not only have the top 15, we may want to do different analysis there. Because, for example, the Postgres Checkup report has the 15 most expensive queries in general.
Yep.
So 14 out of those 15 may come from CI builds and are from background processes and may not be related to slowness in the interface. So if we have a quick check, I think that we have something, we track something like 5,000 queries in PG statements. We can see a lot more. We can do an analysis there, have a pivot table or whatever, and then, know about per job or per controller or per page, etc., etc., etc.
Thank you for that background. And part of that was for Beyond. I don't know if you'd seen that report before or not. We get it mailed to us, I think, once a week right now. So.
No, I had no idea. But I think that would be really fun to get into a workable shape, and then just see, okay, the usage on GitLab.com for the pages where those things run. It's like how many thousands of times this page gets loaded, right? Every day, right? And then you can do all sorts of rankings. But yeah, that would be interesting. Patrick, I'm interested in your thoughts. What do you think?
I think this is what we needed for a long time, really. I think the last 6 months or so, we've been working on partitioning on and off, but not really with a clear end goal other than like, let's just prove partitioning works. We don't really know what we're like. Now we have the events table on the horizon, which I think is a good fit for partitioning. After that, we don't really know like, what are we going to do with it? Because we don't know where to go in the app. So I think that this is critical to making that decision. And I think, like you said, where everyone was saying that we have, there's a general feeling that the app is slow, that creates user frustration, but I think often that's not really linked back to the database. And so I think database does not get the attention that it deserves as a result of that, and that the underlying issues are harder to correct maybe than is evidence. So I think we need evidence to prove that like, this is a real problem and that we need to take real steps to solve it and not just like slap some Band-Aid on it and then, kind of go on our way, which I think is, it's kind of natural that happens at this stage of the game, I guess, but we need to be able to have like a better view of what's happening to solve those problems. I think, more for the long term.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think you made a really good point. It may also be the case, and I just don't know because I'm a little bit ignorant at the moment. Maybe the database queries are really not the issue, right? For most of the perceived slowness, right? I know that memory has done a lot of work now, like actually scaling down images, right? Because you're loading 60 megabytes of like avatar data, even though you don't need to, right? So there may be lots of other things that are also going on, but maybe this is good for us locally to actually see, what impact do we have? But maybe in the long term, I think this is a great point in terms of how to assess performance, also to understand, for some of those pages, what is actually causing issues, right? I don't know, again, I don't know how much breakdown we actually have of what contributes how much, right? And that's generally quite interesting.
And can I add something on top of, I'm sorry, Fred.
No, go ahead, Yannis.
Something like an addition on top of what Patrick said. So for example, what I'm trying to do with the events table, at the moment, I'm trying to figure out in our application where we use the events table and how we use the events table, what are the patterns. If I had this solution now, it will be like, just click, bring me all the controllers that use the events table. I have all the patterns, I have everything. We can also have rates there, how often those queries run, and other stuff if we go on that way. And so it will also help us inform our decisions on access patterns. And also help us, identify other problems. But for partitioning, it is also very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have a little bit of a, I think the user survey would be good too, because we have a little bit of a problem in the way that we kind of measure these things currently, which is, whenever we have a database merge request or any kind of database changes, we're always under the assumption that GitLab is the biggest user of GitLab.com. And so everything is kind of tested against the GitLab project, the namespace, et cetera. But that's the assumption that our workflow is similar to how everyone else's workflow is. So we think like, oh, for us, the merge request page is slow because we have 40,000 merge requests. But that doesn't necessarily hold true for everyone. We don't really know what pain points they're experiencing because we're only seeing the things that we're using on a daily basis. They could be using some other or the app much more heavily than we are in some way, different way than we are. And then so that's a problem for them that merge request is not even on their radar.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think what I would like to do is to compile a combination of some quantitative data, right, where we have, we know how slow or fast things are, but also get user sentiment, right? And luckily, I think we're pretty flexible in that regard. We could reach out to GitLab developers. That's zero effort, right? We can do, I don't know, I'm exaggerating, but we could do 10 interviews in like 2 days because people are generally very helpful. But also if we reach out to UX research, it's not difficult to find people who would have valuable information to share, because it's not, in my case, it's often systems administrators that use Geo, right? I know these people personally because there are not that many. So it's a lot harder or easier to get them. Whereas here, I think we can find a good selection of folks to look at.
And Giannis kind of answered the question I'm going to pose here, or a concern I'm feeling from this. So we started approaching events table because of known issues with it, right? The sheer size and volume. We thought that partitioning would help us to tackle that, and some of the complaints about functionality, like not being able to display more than a year, some of the timings on retrieving that data. So we knew that the events table was a problem both in performance and volume. And my concern here is that, and Giannis kind of clarified by saying this will help us to better inform how to tackle events as an example. But my concern here is we're gonna find more problems that may be a higher priority, which is a good thing. We're just going to keep adding to our backlog of more things that we should be doing. So the outcome of this might be we just tripled our backlog, but this could also help our case of hiring more developers. So I have a sense of dread on doing this, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I think it's a great idea. It'll be interesting to see what the outcome is.
Yeah, no, Giannis.
Can I also share that I have started my learning internship issue. So you will help me reach my OKR, which will be to reach out to other teams to help us with partitioning.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I share your view here that we'll probably uncover quite a few other things. And that's in a way it's good. It probably means maybe some reprioritizing, but that's also normal. And I think in general GitLab is pretty good about having a short-sighted roadmap, right? We haven't made commitments to somebody for something to be delivered in 1.5 years. So I think if we have good reason to do some other things as well, right, or replace priorities, I think that's fine. I think the important thing is that we know why we are doing that, right? And I think what would be cool if we can get to this point, and probably take a while, right, is to and this is how I actually started thinking about it, because I have this performance indicator review meeting, right? And I dread that meeting a little bit, because I don't like talking about indicators if I don't understand what the real impact of those things is, right? So I start thinking about, okay, for a database, what what should we actually do with regards to like these performance indicators, right? What should we be measured against? And this is where that started. I think the cool thing is if you have a clear understanding of the user impact and you can link your priorities to this, then it becomes very easy to say, this is why we're doing it. And unless you can tell me specifically why your thing is more important than that, well, you know, there are only so many people, it will have to wait, right? And
no, I look forward to this, and I wonder how many more #1 priorities we'll come up with. So
it's all going to be P1S1, and I'm just going to caps lock, right?
that's right.
But joking aside, our plan was that, Craig, am I right? So we started with audit events. We ran through, we have built the basic tools. Now we're going most probably to address events. This is open still. We have to be sure that we can address events because there are a couple of different access patterns. And going to events or a similar table that has foreign keys and some other things that we did not have with audit events. So from an engineering perspective, audit events was a very nice intro for us. We went in easily, not very difficult, a lot of difficult problems to solve, but not everything there. Now we can tackle events, and then we will be more or less confident that we have the tooling there and everything that Patrick is building for the past how many months. And we have run this also through two very big tables because audit events is at 240 million records or something like that, and events is way larger. So we will be confident, and then we can do our enablement work and enable others and help others to do that.
Yeah, no, totally agree.
Well, and I also think in an ideal world, and this, yeah, who knows how it's going to go. Yannis obviously has only a certain percentage of his time, but we may be able to, you know, do this now, right, and get some results in the next milestone or however long it's going to take. And then the outcomes of that can inform priorities sort of in 2 milestones or 3 milestones, right? Because it shouldn't really be disruptive to what happens now. But when we get to it, we may have a lot better data on why we choose to pursue one thing over the other. That's kind of the intent.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks for the discussion.
Yeah, for sure.
Consensus for moving forward with this and also addressing the technical side of it.
Sorry, say that again. I didn't hear the first part of the question.
So, okay, so we have a consensus that this is important. So we agree that the technical part of it, because it has this technical implementation, that we are going to prioritize it for this milestone.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. So for this
let's see what
milestone,
we
you mean
find.
13.7, right? 13.7, right? That's
yeah, not for today.
And it sounds like we're in agreement that in parallel we continue down with the events work until maybe this data immediately proves that, hey, actually this table would be better suited for partitioning, but that would have to be a pretty quick turnaround if we're going to jump into events partitioning next.
Yeah, but the fact that I came and I said that I need more time for events partitioning, I think that it's a proof that if we had the tools, I would need less time. It's not like, so we are the users of this.
Gotcha. Okay. Unless there's anything else on that topic, we cover goals from last week and goals for this week. Copy this over. So this is from last week. Pat, you got the first section here. So were you able to do all of these things? So test on database lab, test while GitLab's running, rollout and migration. That's not done yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on now.
Okay. So the other two were done though.
They're in progress, yeah. Well, the second one is in progress. The first one is done. The rollout hopefully will be this week.
This one I merged yesterday, right?
We have no, it's not this week. Yeah, postponed to be able to focus on events proposal. I don't want to come up to another Tuesday and say that events is not done.
Okay. Andreas is not here. So goals for this week. Is audit events going to be done this week? You think, Pat?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, hopefully I'll be done testing today or maybe tomorrow, and then we can merge the MRs ready. We just need to merge it once the testing is complete.
And then Giannis, the events proposal. And then what are we calling the other thing that we just talked about? The user interviews.
Well, we can call it a discovery effort on user pain points to do with database performance. Yes.
What's the plan for this week on that?
We spoke about it this morning. I have to, I think, connect with Giannis tomorrow morning again to see what we can actually do. So this is really hot off the press. I think the next steps will actually be to write up the epic and define some tasks.
Sounds good. All right. That's a lot. Is there anything else we're trying to get done this week?
No, I will split the clean up the schemas, the schema validation. Clean up schema validation, but that should be.
Sorry, I have to step away for 1 second. Someone just knocked on our door.
It's pretty much at the end of the agenda. Anything else we wanted to cover today? Nope.
Not on my end. Just a shout out to Giannis for writing up his internship issue with OKRs and everything. So I'll review that.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody. And we'll leave Pat to a blank screen when he gets back.
Bye-bye.
The call, just keep it open.
Bye.
Bye-bye.